Bishop T.D. Jakes is senior pastor of the Potter's House. That's a 30,000-member church in Dallas. Welcome and Merry Christmas to you, Bishop Jakes.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
We're so glad you're here. Listen, I think you're one of the most optimistic people I know, one of the smartest thinkers I know, so I think it's perfect that you're here with us on this Christmas morning, because 2020 has been a really rough year. Social upheaval, economic upheaval, health upheaval. Yet I've heard you say you are still optimistic and you still have hope. Please share.
Yes, I think it's very, very important that we remain optimistic because of the challenges that we faced and the vicissitudes of the past year and several years preceding it. But this year in particular has been particularly devastating. That gives us a reason to celebrate our own survival, that we made it through it, that we're still here. We have more reason to celebrate than we ever had before because we've never been as challenged as we are right now. So to celebrate that you're still here, whether you have a lot of gifts or a few gifts, to celebrate that you have endured. And I know that there are people who have lost loved ones and that sort of thing, and that's a very painful thing to go through. But God still has a purpose and a plan for your life, and you have to explore it and live your life to the fullest. That is your gift to the people you lost.
Bishop, you believe that the challenges of 2020 are actually making us more connected than ever before. How so?
Well, we're more grateful, we're more appreciative, we're more polite. We've learned not to take our loved ones and our friends for granted. We're checking on each other more. We're more concerned about each other. And I think that we've gotten back to what really matters. We were carried away with so many temporal things, and now we're learning to latch on to the intangible values of family and love and God and life itself.
Bishop, all this separation may make us value our family even more this Christmas, even if we are still apart. But at the same time, there is divisiveness in the country like we have not seen in decades, really. People can measure it. They say the polarization is very extreme. How do we fix that in the year to come?
I think it's going to take time. You know, whenever there's a laceration, healing takes time. You can't instantly heal. And I think the lacerations have been so deep that we have to give ourselves time to heal. And we're going to heal one-on-one. We're going to heal in the elevators. We're going to heal on the sidewalks. We're going to heal in the way that we treat people that we can't label. What we're really upset about is labels, not people. And when you actually meet people outside of their label, you find out there's more to unite us than there is to divide us.
You know, this is a first holiday for a lot of people where there is that empty chair at the table. I often find that when you lose someone, the first holidays, that first year is always the hardest because you're going back to what it was like last year. But you say we have to get ahead of the grief. What do you mean by that, and how do you do that?
When you see it's coming and you know that it's going to be tough and a certain place is going to be tough or a seat is going to be empty, change the game, rearrange things, break your tradition, go for a ride, take the family on a ride, go skiing, do something that's out of your norm so that you're not sitting in the misery of yesterday. You have to create a new future and a new paradigm for you and your family.
Bishop, because of the holidays, because of the pandemic, so many people are having difficulty sort of trying to figure out how to celebrate this year. I've heard that from a lot of people. It's like they need the season, but in some ways they aren't quite sure how to embrace it. And of course, a lot of people can't be with their families, which is also very difficult. How do we celebrate, do you think?
I think that it has to be a myriad of things. We have to take advantage of the technology that we have. We have to Zoom and FaceTime and do all of the things that we can to be connected with people that we're far away from. But we also have to enlarge the understanding that being by ourselves doesn't mean that we can't be celebratory. To have some me time, to do something for you, I think that's important also.
What's your tradition of this day? I know you and your wife certainly have a tradition at the house. I hope it involves banana pudding. I will say that. He makes great banana pudding. I hope it involves that.
Yes, yes. everything involves food in our culture. You know how that is. When you're born, when you die, anything, we bring food. So there'll be plenty of food. Our problem is there's more food than there are people to eat it, and that becomes a problem. But my kids, you know, the ones that are local, we will be connected, and we normally have huge gatherings and bring all the college kids who couldn't get home and the people who lost loved ones, and we have huge gatherings on Christmas. But this time it'll be much smaller. It'll be just our family, but we'll still have a good time.
Yeah, I think it's important that we figure out a way to do that, especially on this day. Thank you very much, Bishop T.D. Jakes. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. God bless you guys.
You too.
As we celebrate the holiday season, we also want to take a moment to celebrate those who have put themselves at risk during the pandemic to keep others safe. Our frontline workers have sacrificed their own safety, from medical professionals to teachers to grocery store employees. Their contributions have helped keep America moving. We asked people around the country who their frontline heroes are. Here are their stories.
My name is Mike Tavella, and my frontline hero is my fiancée, Melissa. She's a 5th grade teacher at Gardeners Avenue Elementary School in Levittown, New York. She never fails to provide 110% to her students. We were supposed to get married this past July, but her selflessness never ceases to amaze me. She still, with all this going on, is able to dedicate herself fully to her students. As a fellow teacher, I can only hope that I'm as inspirational to my students as she is to me.
Hi, my name is Benny, and my frontline hero is my fiancé Jared, who works for UPS. And I hear very amazing stories from Jared delivering to different people and how he helps them and just takes the time to listen to them and talk to them and just get friendly with them. And that makes me feel good because this is the man I love, and I just know how he is towards us, and it makes me feel nice that all these people feel the same way I do about him.
Hi, my name is Joyce Smith, and my frontline hero is my son, Evan W. Smith, the owner and founder of Evan W. Smith Funeral Services located in Delaware. He and his colleagues were experiencing the very same issues of other frontline workers: the fear of being exposed to the coronavirus, the fear of exposing their families.
If you feel lost or alone, we're here to listen to you.
One thing never changed: providing each family he encounters with compassion. I am so immensely proud of you.
Hi, I'm Barb T. from Minnesota.
You can do it, Ryan, can't you?
Our frontline hero is Sandy Sanders, Ryan's art teacher. The pandemic has had a real impact on people with special needs and trying to process what's going on in the world. And through art and through Sandy and Zoom, Ryan has learned a better way to cope with feelings of being so isolated during the pandemic.
My name is Riley Kraft, and I'm 10 years old, and my frontline heroes is my mom, Susie Kraft, and my father, Chris Kraft. My parents own a meat locker, and they're my frontline heroes because they've done so much during the pandemic.
Oh, it wasn't an option to close, not in our eyes anyways. He's got a whole crew of people down there that rely on him. They work their butts off, and it's hard work. I mean, they're pulling 1,000-pound beef, you know, and they don't complain. I don't know how he does it. It's been nonstop since March. That's what rural Iowa is about. It's rough work, and he gets up and does it every day and doesn't complain.
My name is Mandy. I'm from Sapulpa, Oklahoma, and my frontline hero is my mother-in-law, Vivian. Vivian is 71 years old. She's diabetic. She has asthma, and then 5 years ago became a single parent to her great-great nieces. Any of these things could have prevented her from working her cashier job on the front lines during this pandemic, but it hasn't. My husband and I voiced our concerns to her regarding her working on the front lines. Her response was, "I have the girls to think of." So she's definitely an inspiration for myself and everybody that knows her.
I'm not a hero. I'm doing what everybody else would do. I'm doing what thousands of people around this country does. You do what you have to do, but I'm not a hero.
I mean, so this year we call them essential workers, and the definition of essential, I think, it has been redefined in people's minds. The people you count as the most important people in your day-to-day life, the pandemic has clarified that for a lot of people.
Exactly right. Yeah, frontline heroes, frontline workers now has a totally different meaning. I mean, you can find them everywhere doing all sorts of things. And thank you again for that.
You might not have known your delivery worker, your teacher, or whatever. Those were frontline workers. They are, and they have been.
Yeah, they got us through, and we appreciate it.
And they're still doing it.
Yep, that's right.
And they're still doing it.
Ain't over yet. All right, we've got much more news ahead, including Christmas at the traditional birthplace of Jesus, how Bethlehem is keeping the spirit of Christmas alive despite far fewer visitors during the pandemic.
Plus, in our More Perfect Union series, meet high school students who are turning seniors into pals during this time of isolation.
And Alabama Shakes frontwoman Brittany Howard just earned 5 Grammy nominations for her first solo album. Why she says stepping out on her own was a risk worth taking.
Whether people believe it or not, it takes courage to do it, because you have to be prepared to fail. You know, you also got to be prepared to succeed.
We talked to the blues rock artist about going solo and being prepared to fail. You're watching CBS This Morning.
Gifts for elves, check. Now just in a dang coupon code.
Hold your reindeer, Santa.
Samuel, what's up?
I got a gift for you. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them. Just download it to your computer. It's free.
Whoa.
Oh, I have that Save Me a bundle.
You have that?
Mm-hmm.
What?
So, that get me off your naughty list?
Are you off the naughty words?
Yes.
Oh, I don't think so.
Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
I'm Erin, and I'm...
Is just by seeing the faces of other loved ones in a way that we probably would not. And that's just one way that technology can be a blessing.
You are not alone, and I think it's such a wonderful message, and I know both of you have helped deliver that message always, through all the tragedies, and especially this last year as well. Thanks so much for being with us. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to both of you.
And to you both as well. Thank you.
Thank you. They always make us feel better. Okay, it's a holiday season truly unlike any other, with many Americans apart from their family and their friends. So we discuss safety and how you can stay safe during the holidays. Next.
The line. Santa?
Hey, you two. How's it going?
I am fine, feeling lonely.
I still don't know how to cope.
I found comfort in what's here.
I'm going to show you how to make a cloth face mask.
6 feet apart. It's okay to cry.
I'm not afraid to be alone. I know this.
You're going to make it to the other side, and that's really all that's important.
Changing love, change me.
like the flu. Visit Emerald.
And you wrote the book ahead of the 2020 election, obviously, and you wrote in that, and you touched on this moments ago, saying, you say in the book, if Trump loses, it will be because of his defects of character, his impulsiveness, his inattention to detail, his petty cruelty, and most prominently, his routine dishonesty have turned off many exhausted voters who might otherwise support him. The tension between Trump's policy and personality has been a dominant theme throughout this book.
Yeah, and I think I think about a voter I met in Robeson County, which was it's a man named Mark Locklear, who is a member of the Lumbee Native American tribe, and he is one of 16 Obama-Trump voters that I followed for the 3 years, and of the 16, 14 voted for Trump again. And Mark was actually the only one of the 16 who told me at the final minute that he would be voting for Joe Biden. And it wasn't on policy. He agrees with a lot of what Trump had done. It was based on personality and what he focused on the lying. And he told me, look, And every time I talked to Mark, he was a great interview because he was one of the few people who were sort of ambivalent, and he would describe his feelings for Trump as being like a pendulum swinging from negativity to positivity with every new tweet and every new policy. And when I talked to him in April, he said, look, right now I'm kind of swinging towards negativity because Trump said, oh, if you want to get the coronavirus test, you could get it. And Mark's wife wasn't able to obtain the test. And for Mark, that was just more evidence of Trump's lying. And he said, finally, he wanted a reason. Every time he'd say, I want a reason to vote for Trump. He needs to give me more of a reason. And at the end, he said, no, I just can't do it. I got to vote for Biden.
Well, for 2024, if
the primary.
From slim pro-fit dental guards to advanced floss pay.
Start with a quote at 1-800-FARMERS.
Next presidential primary, when Hillary Clinton was, of course, running to replace Barack Obama. And they spoke about how painful it was having to make that choice. What they felt was making a choice between, because they believe both of them were qualified and would make an excellent president, but having to choose their race over their gender. And clearly, Black women chose their race. And they felt like they had to vindicate, though, that split by then supporting Hillary Clinton. And I heard that again and again, that this is a chance to redeem the fact that we had to split ourselves. And it seems like that struggle, how can that struggle be resolved in this country built on the foundations upon which it was built?
Well, I wish I knew.
And taking time. I know Texas is big, but is it big enough for this California exodus?
I came up from Chicago years ago, partly because the weather's, you can't beat it out here. So until it starts snowing in Los Angeles, I'm here. So I'm sticking around.
There have been a lot of folks from Elon Musk to our Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, a lot of people leaving California for the reasons that people have cited, that their businesses can't thrive, the housing is too expensive. Do you understand sort of why they want out?
Yeah, well, things are cyclical, I tend to see. I remember back when we had the Northridge earthquake, everybody bailed as well. And then as soon as they hit the first blizzards on the East Coast, everybody seemed to be coming back. So all I know is property values seem to still be pretty steady out here. And so, things happen. I've been around long enough to realize that things happen in cycles, and it's going to be what it's going to be.
Well, you've done more than just be around. You're a legend I'm old enough to remember you in Three Amigos movie, but of course the recent Criminal Minds show and so many other great things. And we are fortunate to have you as a part of our Fox Nation with a special you did called Sound the Bells with the U.S. Army Field Band. Explain.
Yeah, well, the military's always been my hot button. I mean, I've never been political in the sense that where I tend to affiliate myself with a party or with a person or anything like that, but I've always been aligned with our United States military, who have to somewhat remain neutral in situations in the world such as that. And so for 19 years now, I've been hosting a National Memorial Day concert with Gary Sinise, who's been my partner on that for about 16 of those 19 years. And so working on this thing with the Army Field Band is just part of it. There's a group called We Are the Mighty that composed of former members of the military in the United States Army. Well, not just the Army, there's other branches of service involved as well with that. But it's just, once again, during this especially trying holiday season, it's just a way of bringing, hopefully, some entertainment, some comfort, some joy into the lives of, hopefully, people around our country and hopefully even in the world, in terms of just spreading music and what the holiday season's all about.
Well, you sure did that. Here, let's take a quick look at a clip from Sound the Bells on Fox Nation. Watch.
This holiday season, we hope your celebration is filled with joy and also with gratitude for all those who served in our military, past and present, to keep our country safe.
I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams.
That's available now on Fox Nation. It's called Sound the Bells. You can go download and watch it. It's remarkable. The U.S. Army Field Band is something special, been around for more than 7 decades. Joe Montana, great job of really bringing that to us. Thanks for taking time. More. Joe Concha is here with what the media got wrong this year and how to fix it in his Christmas wish list. We got more.
How do we lost is a person. It's hard to understand the numbers. The numbers are daunting, but every single one is a person. And you have been working these overnight shifts in the ER, so you're seeing it directly there in Michigan. What's the situation right now?
Yeah. We do have to remember it is a person, each one of those numbers, and that's what I think we need to be talking about as physicians, as healthcare workers, talk about these patients that we're seeing. Listen, right now we had a significant spike post-Thanksgiving. Our inpatient wards are still very full at critical levels in some places. In the emergency department, fortunately, we're experiencing not a lull, but sort of a slow in the increase in numbers of cases. And so we're just kind of catching our breath, unfortunately preparing for an inevitable post-Christmas spike in the next few weeks. So we're ready for that.
And Dr. Davidson, there was also a concerning piece of reporting this week that came out. So many healthcare workers have sadly died from the virus and trying to help others live. The full toll, though, is actually unclear. That is according to an analysis by The Guardian and KHN. They put the number around 3,000 lives. Why isn't there a clearer picture on the impact of healthcare workers? Why isn't something like this being tracked?
Well, I think, as you know, patients, individuals' private medical records are their private business. And if they and their family choose to release this, then that can get out to the public. So I think it's difficult to know exactly when a healthcare worker dies or when they're sick in the hospital because, frankly, the hospital or their employer doesn't have any right to release that. But I do know that this has had a disproportionate impact on the folks that, frankly, I work with. I've had a lot of my coworkers go out sick. Fortunately, we haven't lost any, but a number of them have ended up in the hospital, have gotten quite ill. And, all of us, each of us will be there for our patients, and we have taken on this risk. It will be very nice in a few weeks' time to know that we have an administration that's there with us, that's going to help us fight this instead of, frankly, making it more difficult.
And what else is coming under the radar or going under the radar when it comes to healthcare workers dealing with every single day that maybe the average person doesn't know?
Yeah, I think just that there is actual stress involved. It's a different kind of stress when we know that every person that we see could be harboring the virus, that up to 40% we know can transmit it when they're asymptomatic. I'm putting on my N95 and a face shield that is required now in every single patient room, whether they come in with an extremity trauma or symptoms of potential COVID. We know they could be infecting us, just like when people are at the grocery store. You can avoid people. Stand 6 feet away. We really can't do that when we're taking care of patients. And so that constant stress is there, and it does take its toll over time.
Yeah, one psychologist said that some of these medical workers will come out of this with PTSD, similar to having served in wartime. The vaccine rollout is also going slower than expected with the U.S., so far confirming just 1 million vaccinations. Now, the goal and the hope was 20 million by the end of the year. You're actually scheduled to get the vaccine this weekend. Are you seeing signs of a slower rollout there, or what are you experiencing?
Yeah, I work in a small rural hospital, so we don't have the very deep freezers needed for the Pfizer vaccine. So we waited for the Moderna. We got the first shots in arms just a couple of days ago. Going to continue that starting on Sunday through this week. And so, yeah, we're all very anxiously awaiting. I think, significant numbers of healthcare workers in our facilities want the shot. We're ready to go. We want to take pictures. We want to share with our patients, our families, that we think it's safe, that we think it's essential. And so anything is too slow right now for us. But I think, we're ramping up. We're getting there. And I think we will get to where we need to be in due time.
Boy, those are poignant words. Anything at this point is too slow. We cannot move fast enough, obviously, while doing so safely and following the science. And we appreciate you, Dr. Rob Davidson, being in with us this morning. We'll be closely following these next steps for you, so good luck.
Thanks a lot. Have a good morning.
Millions of Americans are just hours away from being cut off from crucial unemployment benefits. How the massive COVID relief bill would help and whether President Trump would sign it in time. Next.
Selling a home is expensive.
It was bitterly, bitterly cold outside, and I had on just a prison shirt and trousers.
Alerts.
One gathering after the other for literally the last 8 to 12 weeks, we've just seen daily cases just amplify and amplify and amplify. So Christmas today is going to do a similar thing if we haven't sort of heeded the advice of keeping the gathering small or keeping it into your nuclear family. And then when we get to New Year's Eve, we're going to have the same problem as well. And amplify on top of that, New Year's Eve, typically for adults, usually involves a little bit of alcohol, just a little bit, which means that you drop your sort of social inhibitions, and where you may have been amazing at keeping your distance away from people up until now, you have a few drinks and you just forget the safety protocols. You get too close, you give somebody a hug, and there we go. We've just moved it from one person to the next.
Try that, John. Just a little bit of alcohol.
He's saying bad choices.
Yes.
What he's thinking is bad. People make bad choices.
I hear that. About a week ago, Professor Dr. Anthony Fauci said that he thought that we would be wearing masks for the better part of 2021, even with the vaccinations, because we don't know yet if you can still be a carrier once you're vaccinated. And, there are some countries, I'm thinking of some Asian countries in particular, where people wear masks, regularly, even before coronavirus existed. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that this might be into a vision of our future.
Yeah, I'm so done with masks. I've gone through 100 different brands, and I really want to be done with them. But unfortunately, the vaccine is not a light switch. It's not just going to go from from masks to no masks, in a short period of time. It's going to transition. It's going to be dependent on the rollout of the vaccine, how many arms it gets in, the longer term efficacy, and really the uptake of the community. I generally think that we're still doing COVID-related protocols for safety, into June, and then I'm hoping after that period of time things start to slow down. Not in regards to daily cases. I think they really will have slowed down. But I think when we start getting into those high transmission situations, indoors, in closed spaces, poor ventilation, I think we'll still find that masks are part of, potentially office work, maybe retail spaces, those type of things, if we don't get this under control.
Professor, thank you so much. Have a wonderful holiday. So nice to see you, and thanks for everything you've done with us all year round.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Allison. Have a wonderful Christmas day.
You too.
All right, 50 million Americans don't have enough food to eat, and food lines are getting longer across the country. So how are the food banks meeting this need? That's next.
Imagine right now,
And welcome back. If you are just waking up, let us be the first to wish you and yours a very, very Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. We just took a look back at the journey of this year's Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. And of course, being part of its lighting is a yearly highlight for all of us.
It also got us thinking about some other traditions, the ones we do at home with our family.
That is right. So we all contributed a little bit of them to one big Today family tree. The result? Well, nothing short of spectacular. Oh, looky. There she is. Our tree is always puny, and so we do a really elaborate lighting. One. Wow. Get ready. 2, 1. You gotta have white lights because it speaks to Christmas and it feels like peace. The kids make their own ornaments.
That's done.
Let's start with Haley. Little Hopi. You gotta have lots of tinsel. There's a technique. You take a lot of it and you just keep throwing it in blobs. It's gotta look like it's dripping with beautiful icicles. I need a little help. Carson, can you help me out with some lights?
Thanks, Hoda. Oh, no, not white lights. There you go. No. Here's some lights for the tree. It's only colored lights. What kind of person would put white lights on a tree? I mean, I know it looks fancy. Christmas shouldn't be fancy and elegant. It should be festive and fun.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
Grab this book right here. It's always under the tree. It's called A Special Gift. And my father would read it, and all of us would sit around him. Now that my dad's not here, I have carried on the legacy of reading this book on Christmas Eve. We like to hang a stocking with all of ours. That's camouflage, and we do it in honor of the troops who are overseas and couldn't get back home for Christmas. We'll put this one front and center as a reminder. Ornaments, Craig, you can start with these.
Well, thanks, Carson, but we actually use a pickle ornament. We also started hiding the pickle in the tree, and one of the kids will find the pickle, they get a surprise, and then we hide the pickle and get baby Jesus there. Happy birthday to you. When we were dating, this is our first Christmas together. Dinner's over, out comes the birthday cake, and these people begin singing happy birthday to Jesus. I was in, and ever since, we've been singing happy birthday to Jesus. Happy birthday, baby Jesus. Happy birthday to you. Savannah, I believe this is for you.
Thanks, Craig. I always like to put something a little sweet on the tree. We used to love having candy canes on the tree, and by the time Christmas rolled around, all the candy canes were gone. Put it up high so the kids don't get all of them. I love Christmas tree ornaments that have a sense of humor and have some personality. A Christmas cactus, because I'm from Arizona. I like ornaments that are kind of weird, honestly. Here's a New York City taxi cab and a little pretzel. The weirder the better. And look at this fancy little flamingo right up front. One thing I started doing was making a photo ornament of the kids every year, and I love opening the ornament box and seeing how they've grown in a year. Here's our family. Oh, there's our family, our Today Show family. Tree looks good. Al, you gotta finish it off.
Ooh, well, I can never get it untangled. Our tree topper is a beautiful black angel.
Almost there.
You don't feel it's Christmas until she's on top of the tree.
Yay!
We got some ornaments that represent these beautiful black angels. We're going to put the angel right next to the baby Jesus. We've done the ugly Christmas sweater. We've done the ugly Christmas suits. Even if you don't want to wear an ugly Christmas sweater, you can always put one on your tree. Bad taste is always timeless. Really looks lovely, but something's missing. Oh, there's no pine scent. The scent, you know, especially when you cut it down and you've got the pine sap on your hands. Nick and I have been going out cutting a tree since he's been about 6 or 7. We're kind of lumberjacks, and we go out and we put on flannel shirts. Got our tree, right? Yeah, we did. I stole these out of a New York City cab. That says Merry Christmas.
Good stuff.
Thanks so much for that bacon ornament you gave me.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, what's a little charcuterie on the tree always makes it just so joyous.
Should we toast to our tree?
Oh, yeah.
We've hidden a little bit of wine.
I know.
On the set because why not?
Cheers.
Why
This
not?
is a socially
Cheers,
distanced
everybody.
There you
tree.
go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Love you guys. Merry Christmas.
Love you.
Merry Christmas. By the way, what are you wearing, Carson?
Oh, just a little Santa sweater.
So you're out somewhere.
Yeah.
Don't forget the email. Go
That
Capital.
is so Carson.
Christmas morning.
Which list are you on this year? No,
He has
I think both.
the naughty, I think, according to the sweater, but I say the nice.
Yeah, I think
I'm
you're.
a nice.
Well, it's
Does
both.
that
He's
say
got
to
a-
have a
He's got a
tattoo?
naughty tattoo and a nice
That's
tattoo.
right.
All right, well, we've got a lot more ahead, but right now, it's weather time. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Sunshine looks to stick around for the entire day today, and we'll also be looking at clear skies for tonight. Not going to be as cold tonight as it's been the last few nights, and we'll start to see cloud cover building back in coming into Saturday. Speaking of the weekend, pretty quiet conditions are on the way, but then as we go into next week, we're tracking our next winter storm that looks to be coming back into the area this upcoming Tuesday and Wednesday, along with even colder temperatures by New Year's.
And that is your latest weather.
All right, Al, thank you. And coming next, we are heading to London for the story behind Some longtime royal Christmas traditions that are being broken this year. Right after this.
Go to GEICO.com. How did Kellogg's combine crunchy oat clusters with a touch of honey?
Follows me. And now for the biggest present.
I reached out to people one final time and said, how do you think Trump is performing in terms of, combating the virus? And without any exceptions, maybe one, everyone came down along party or tribal lines.
Let's hear from Bob next up, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. If we go to our Democrats line, Bob, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, the thing is, I'm going to make a prediction. 2 years from now, when gasoline's over $5 a gallon, your home utility prices for electric and everything's up 40%. These newspapers reporting and blaming on Trump. The other thing that really irks me, here's a word you ought to start using, Anglophobic. Black people's hatred from white people. You can see that from the Obamas, and that last black guy they called. There's a name, we call us racists, they're Anglophobics. They hate white people. You can hear it in their voices.
We'll go to John in Beaverton, Oregon, Democrats line. Go ahead.
Hi there. I want to preface my statement by, first, I have a degree in public administration. I have a certificate in ministry and another certificate in immigration law. Going back to my BA in public administration, Donald Trump forgets that part of his role is that of administration and governing. And it seems to me he's been making a lot of use of executive orders. Then in terms of values, my values come from my faith, which indicate that politics is for the common good and service, and it's all based on truth, freedom, justice, love, which leads to a tranquility of order. He definitely has not contributed to that. And then finally, the immigration law, he's treated immigrants, he's conflated criminal violations with civil violations, and then his misuse of the power of the pardon to, well, we know what's going on in terms of the various pardons. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Did any of the folks you interview bring up, of course, the pardons have happened pretty much recently, but bring up the allegations and charges of things like cronyism and insider information in the Trump administration?
Yeah, again, it really fell down along tribal lines. If they were Trump supporters, often they weren't hearing about some of these allegations, or they would be very dismissive. If they were Trump critics, it would be the first thing they would talk about. And I remember, getting back to the point of people not allowing for any kind of nuance in assessing Trump, I'd bring up some of these things. If I was talking to maybe a conservative Christian Trump supporter, I'd say, well, what about all his, affairs and some of the character flaws?
Yep.
And they're very dismissive of it. If I was talking to a progressive, I'd say, well, what about how well the economy was doing? Do you give him any credit for that? And they wouldn't. Or I'd bring up one of his more progressive policies, like the First Step Act, which was the first major reform of the federal criminal justice system in many years. And it disproportionately helped minorities and poor people who populate the prison system. And he championed that bill, and he signed it into law. And that, because it contradicted, their view of the president as being, an irredeemable bigot, often they would tell me that they hadn't heard of it. And these were people who were pretty well informed otherwise, but they would say, oh, the First Step Act, never heard of it. I'll have to look that up. And so again, I think it comes down to, where do you stand on Trump? Are you even hearing this information? And how seriously do you take it?
Comment from you, comments on...
Yeah. Well, I'll just dispense with the latter part.
I think that's a rhetorical question, so yeah.
Anybody tells you that dissent and critique un-American knows nothing about American history and about point. Critical race theory emerges out of a very particular moment among mostly legal scholars in the 1980s who are looking to take stock of the civil rights era, its successes, but also are recognizing what civil rights did not accomplish. And so these are folks who observe that despite the purging of race and racism from the face of American law, discrimination, inequality, and more persists in the United States for Black Americans in the 1980s. And so critical race theory begins by trying to answer the question, right? How is it that inequality persists despite having worked toward a colorblind ideal in the United States? And the work is to understand better language, coded language, the dog whistle, right? The language of race and racism as it had been sort of gussied up or sort of prettied up for lawyers and for judges in the United States. It looks to history to restore to legal thinking the histories that had been, if you will, whitewashed and overlooked. It looks at the biographies. It goes beyond the surface of legal writing, judges writing legal treatises and learned text, to ask about the biographies, the politics, the motivations of principal actors, and as a school of thought about what scholarship might be, it is this moment in which scholars of color, legal scholars of color, begin to critique what happens in the law classroom, what happens in the case book, and open the door to the eye, the storytelling, the narrative, the autobiography. I study in the 1980s with Patricia Williams, whose work I think is well known by many people for her really artful and powerful combining of the stories of her own family, including the history of slavery in her family, with an explication of how those ideas animate our thinking about property, for example, in the 20th century. So that's where critical race theory begins. It's a companion to sociologists who, boy, I feel like now I'm giving you like a seminar as you push the button. Also, last thing I'll say is that it's a companion to sociological work that has begun to reframe race as a social construction. So critical race theorists become interested in the ways in which within law, race and racism are being constructed affirmatively through law as well as in other realms of American society. So there's no question that critical race theory asks, why does racism persist? Well, frankly, in the 21st century, isn't that the question we've all been asking? Yes. I don't think that's a novel or provocative question at all. It seems to be the question on many people. Even if we don't know the answer, we know that that's a question. Critical race.
Yeah. All right. I put a picture on Instagram of my last chemo. I had what I called the chemo smirk on, because it's coming. The first few days after chemo are generally rough, but the second week, this week, I'm A-okay. I feel great. So everyone in the audience, don't waste a minute worrying about me. I'm A-okay.
Well, Dan, you look great, and no surprise, you are a fantastic fighter, and you're doing a great job. And obviously, this is a different Christmas for you, and I understand you may have some surprises for us.
Yeah, well, for this Christmas season, the audience has been so great to me, so I wanted to give back. So I'm wearing my Folds of Honor shirt. We did a $10,000 donation to Folds of Honor, which was matched by our friends at Patriot Mobile, by the way. Thank you for that. But I saw yesterday one of the Tunnel to Towers commercials on Fox. And I thought of Rick Reitmuth, he did a donation to Folds of Honor too. Remember, he wanted to get one of those big checks, but he couldn't get out and do one, so he did his own big check. So I did my own big check. It's actually a small check. We're going to do one for Tunnel to Towers today. for $10,000. Thank you, Tunnel to Towers, mortgage-free homes for our heroes. And I was touched also by Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, who has raised close to $5 million for restaurants. So here's my other fake big check. And you notice I had to cross it out because I just learned I was going to do $5,000, but I'm going to do another $10,000 at Dave Portnoy's Barstool Fund for struggling restaurants, those heroes out there in the restaurants that have been feeding us through this pandemic at unbelievable risk to yourselves. So we're going to do another $10,000 for that too.
Well, Dan, I mean, you are an incredible human being. Thank you for all that you're doing for yourself, for helping small businesses and those who really need it. And, you know, we're so happy to have you here, Dan. You look wonderful. And I hope 2021 brings you nothing but health and happiness.
No, I appreciate it. I just got some special guests I got to bring on who have a message for the whole nation. Come on, kiddos. I saw Concha's beautiful daughters. Come on, there's one. This is my daughter, Isabel and Amelia. No, Dad, you know, everything's backwards on return. So whenever I point, these are my two daughters. I love these two. What do you want to say, girls, to the nation? Merry Christmas, America. There you go. She's a patriot, too. So
Hey,
we all
girls,
love you.
I have
It's
a
great to
quick
have my
question
kids.
for your daughters. What's
Okay,
it
I'll pass it
like?
on.
What's it like with Dan Bongino as your dad?
They want to know what's it like to have Dan Bongino as your dad. Wait, hold on, microphone. What's it like? Tell them, Isabel.
It's pretty cool. We get to do a lot of cool stuff.
A lot of cool stuff. There you go. What do you think?
Daddy's the best.
Daddy's the best. I didn't pay her
Daddy's
for
the
that.
best.
I didn't pay her for that. That's 2 thumbs up on Yelp. I did not pay her for that. That she just knows.
All right.
You know, when I did one more thing, Griff,
thank
I knew
you very
were-
much.
But when we were on
God
Fox and Friends once, she loved me. She remember that time with
We
that?
love
was
it.
Great. Thank you.
And we've got to leave
Thanks,
it
kids.
there. Merry Christmas, Bongino family. We'll be back
Merry
with more
Christmas.
Fox and Friends
See you
after
guys.
this.
Such a huge part of recovery.
Holiday joy for children who need it the most.
I want to wish you a Merry Christmas.
So do we. Rahima Ellis, NBC News.
A very Merry Christmas. We will be back with much more MSNBC's Christmas Day coverage after a short break. In our next hour, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell of Michigan. Stay with us.
You're the one we made my Walgreens for. With pickup
attached to it. So some snow in the forecast. As we continue to modify things here, we'll monitor that. I think that there will be some wind with it too, as temperatures are likely to decline into Monday and Tuesday. Now that's the start of the week. Then we kind of reposition and we look to the west here. We're going to find a storm system coming out of the desert southwest. Now we haven't had very many of these so far this early winter season. So pay attention to developments here, as we'll have probably a snow-rain combo since it's a southern stream storm, but it initially looks pretty strong. And obviously, if we get incorporated into some of that, we'll have to keep an eye on the midweek forecast, and that's reflected in your 7-day trend. Let's look at those numbers as we slide through the 20s this weekend, anticipating teens by Monday and Tuesday, and then maybe a little bit milder, but not by much, on Wednesday. And of course, we're going to have to deal with some wind and maybe some snow chances there. Aberdeen also looking at a chance of snow by the middle of the week, as temperatures, generally speaking, are colder, especially as we kick off the new week. Pierre, Central South Dakota, 36 for Saturday, 20 on Sunday with some pockets of light snow. Looks like we'll hold in the 20s into early next week, and additional snow chances on the horizon Tuesday night into Wednesday. Likewise, chances of snow could easily incorporate into the Black Hills by Tuesday into Wednesday. Well, check out the latest details at KELOland.com.
Don't miss out on the final days of...
Right away, USA.
You know Christmas is all about tradition. And while your traditions may look a bit different this year, the spirit of the season stays the same. We thank you for making Menards a part of your year, whether you stroll through the enchanted
store has opened up a seasonal location at the Empire Mall this holiday season. Whether you're out shopping with your best friend or in town completing your holiday gift buying, stop by for a free massage and see all our holiday specials. Bring the joy of massage home for the holidays. 2 locations for your convenience, Empire Mall or in the Western Mall next to Best Buy.
So you... For the best in fishing, hunting, and...
Trump's, improvement among black men in the 2020 election and other minorities in terms of his performance.
Our caller has left, but it does pose a good rhetorical question. Daniel Allett, really appreciate your time this morning. He is opinion editor at The Hill and author of the new book we've been talking about in our Authors Week series, On the Road in Trump's America, A Journey into the Heart of a Divided Nation. Thanks so much and enjoy the holiday.
Thanks, Bill. You too.
More ahead.
Fox News alert on this Christmas morning from Nashville. You're looking at video just into Fox News. Witnesses report seeing a huge cloud of smoke billowing from an area where a number of businesses are located. We don't know right now if anybody was hurt, but understand emergency responders are on the scene. People on the scene, eyewitnesses say it appears that an RV of some type exploded. The Tennessee Office of Emergency Management now telling Fox News it does not appear to be foul play. Continue to work our sources and talk to police on the scene and see if we can understand a little bit more about what happened in Nashville. And we're learning about new COVID-related travel restrictions coming in overnight that now start days from now. Cases at home are surging as they are also surging in London with a new strain of the virus. Good morning. Merry Christmas. Welcome to this edition of America's Newsroom. I'm Leland Vitter. Julie, if we didn't know it was Christmas, all we need to do is look at your shirt.
Or your tie. What are you kidding? We're both like a Christmas tree this morning. I'm Julie Banderas. Leland, Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to all of you at home joining us this morning. A rainy morning here in New York. Sandra Smith is off. So the CDC says beginning on Monday, anyone coming from the UK will be required to have a negative COVID test before boarding. And if airline travelers refuse, they can be denied entry into the U.S. This comes as a new and more contagious strain of the virus spreads in Britain and beyond.
It is yet more transmissible, and it appears to have mutated further than the new variant that's been discovered in the UK.
This is what happened in the spring. It is deja vu. They lost track of the virus.
Aisha Husney is live in New York City. The governor and mayor have called for this, and now they have it. Good morning, Aisha.
Good morning to you, Leland and Julie. Merry Christmas to you. Yeah, this comes on the heels of a lot of criticism from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's been blasting the Trump administration really all week long, saying that they did not take quick enough action once this virus was known over the weekend. He wanted nationwide travel restrictions, and now he's got them. The government will now require travelers from the UK to show that they have had a negative COVID-19 test within 3 days of departure. In a statement, the CDC says airlines must confirm the negative test result for all passengers before they board, and if a passenger chooses not to take a test, the airline must deny boarding to the passenger. The CDC says UK travel has already been down by about 90% because of travel restrictions in place since March, but there are still 6 flights expected to come in today from London Heathrow and landing in the New York area's major airports here. And they have the potential, guys, to carry thousands of travelers. That is why New York Governor Andrew Cuomo mandated a similar testing requirement earlier this week. Delta, British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, all 3 of those are requiring passengers from England to show that they've had a negative COVID test. They get
to work on their off days because they're just trying to meet this demand of patients that continue to come. We've talked to doctors in Apple Valley, for example, which is just outside of Los Angeles County, describing the hospital situation there as a disaster, operating at over 270% capacity. So when we say out of ICU beds, when we say stretched to the max, That's what that situation looks like. You've got dozens of patients lining the hallways waiting for care. Doctors, nurses, frontline workers doing everything they can to try and provide care to these patients, but they just are struggling with the demand. And they know that there's no end in sight. When you take a look at these numbers, they are jarring. Los Angeles County averaging more than 13,000 new infections a day. You look at down the line to next week and what they're looking at the hospital systems, which are already stretched thin, they're anticipating another 1,400 people a day going into the hospital systems. Take a listen to what one nurse has to say.
We continue to open other ICU units to be able to accommodate all of these COVID patients. So we're currently on our third COVID ICU, in addition to our regular ICU, which are non-COVID patients. So the amount of staff that's required just to care for these patients is at least 15 more ICU nurses per shift than we normally have.
And they are running out of people to care for these patients, but of course, doing everything in their power to try and make it happen. Today, of course, Christmas. You see Los Angeles County officials pleading with people not to attend these indoor worship services because the infection rate just continues to climb, and that would certainly be a worst case scenario to see people indoors gathering today. Corey?
Yeah, and Dr. Adalja, you've been in those hospitals. How's the morale right now as we stretch into month 9 of this fight and the worst wave that we have seen so far, especially when it's supposed to be the happiest time of year?
I think the morale has been something that kind of goes up and down. And what I see now amongst my colleagues and even of myself is this seems to be almost like a never-ending deluge of patients that doesn't stop, because we know the transmission is the highest that it's been in the community. Hospitals are at record numbers, higher than in the spring of this pandemic, and we really don't see transmission slowing down. So this is going to be something that we continue to do, this prolonged surge, until enough of the population is vaccinated, enough of the vulnerable population is vaccinated, to give our hospitals some breathing room when it comes to capacity.
I want to ask you about that because Dr. Fauci recently updated his numbers. He originally thought that there would need to be about a 70% vaccination rate for us to kind of start to turn the corner on this pandemic. And now he's updated that to 90%, and that includes vaccination or infection rate. Where do you stand with these latest numbers? What are your thoughts?
I do think we're going to need a tremendous amount of the population to be vaccinated to get cases down. This is a very contagious virus, and we're hearing about the evolution of new variants in the United Kingdom and South Africa, which are likely here. There's no question about that they're already in the United States, that may transmit even more efficiently. So that raises the threshold for herd immunity to get some handle on cases, and it's getting closer to a measles level. It's not quite as high as measles, but pretty high. What the other point is that when we get vulnerable populations vaccinated, the people in nursing homes, people who have high-risk conditions, they make up the bulk of our hospitalizations and the bulk of our deaths. Once we get a high number of those individuals vaccinated, we still will have transmission going on in the community, but we won't be hearing about hospitals being overstressed. And I think that will change a little bit of the risk perception of the disease once hospitals are not in trouble the way they are right now.
All right, so these new strains that you just mentioned and that we've been reporting
surge following the Christmas holidays, which there almost certainly will be, it's going to be hard to actually measure the specific impact of the travel. And so therefore, I think, despite all of our attempts to put out a lot of strong messages, we still have a lot of holiday travel and over the New Year's as well. So this is really disconcerting. So this epidemic has already spiraled out of control. We're at 250,000 new cases a day, which, remember what that really means. That's an underestimate times 4. These are 1 million new cases a day. So we're going to have to put a lot of emphasis on getting vaccines deployed as quickly as possible. We've got to greatly expand our virus genomic surveillance. I'm not as worried about the vaccines protecting against these new variants because of the 17 mutations. It looks like only 3 or 4 are in the part of the virus that docks with the host receptor. That's the receptor binding domain. That's the basis of most of the COVID-19 vaccines, including our vaccines. So all of the laboratories, including ours, are scrambling to confirm that the neutralizing antibodies against the vaccine will neutralize this new COVID-19 variant. But the bigger issue is we know this virus is a plastic genome and has the ability to mutate quite a bit. So even if we do okay with this particular variant. It's only a matter of time before other variants emerge in the coming years. So we have to have an additional program in place to rapidly develop new vaccines and universal coronavirus vaccines. And that's got to be a top priority as well.
Okay, Dr. Peter Hotez, great talking with you today. Thanks.
Perspective. But a morning of hope.
It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year. And you know what? The truth is, at the root of Christmas, there's that wonderful passage in John's Gospel. God so loved the world that he gave his son. God loved the world enough that he gave the gift of his own self, his very life. And you know what? The greatest gift that we can give each other is the gift of ourselves. And we can do that. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough year for so many. And yet, we've got each other. And if we give ourselves to the other in new ways, that's the reason we give little gifts and things. It's not because the little gifts mean all that much. It's because I'm giving you a gift of myself. Remember that Christmas carol, The Little Drummer Boy? Well, the little drummer boy didn't have much to give. He gave all he had and just played his drum. And the tale says that the mother Mary smiled and the baby Jesus smiled. When we give the gift of each other to each other, we bless each other and bless the world, even in the most difficult times. So if you're not high tech, then email, and if you're high tech, Zoom, and if you're no tech, just pick up the telephone and call.
No doubt.
Give yourself to somebody
Love that.
and say Merry Christmas.
Bishop Curry, you had some great insight. A lot of people, as you talked about it, are suffering. They've lost loved ones because of this pandemic. And this is what you said. You can't just jump to hope. There is a process you have to go through. There are no shortcuts to it. People are always saying, find hope, but how do you get there?
You know, you just have to acknowledge that there's some things you're sad about. And if loved ones have been lost in the course of the year, remember them. Say their name to God. And you're going to feel sad for a moment, and then stop and think. The reason you're sad is because you're going to miss it. The reason you're sad is because somewhere in that past, there's a memory of joy and hope and happiness. And go back and think about that joy and that hope and that happiness, whatever it was, and remember that and pray that that memory, the memory of them, will continue to be a blessing for you today. And then hope that you can be a blessing to someone else's memory.
Bishop Curry, for those of us who consider ourselves people of faith, and so many folks have had their faith tested in so many ways this year, I contend that on the other side of this, we are all going to be better off in myriad ways. What would you say to people of faith who've had their faith tested so mightily in 2020? What do you think it's going to look like post-pandemic?
Hope. Don't give up on hope. Bible says God so loved the world that he gave his only son. The world was a mess then, and God came anyway. God did not give up on his world, and God has not given up on us even now. Let me tell you a quick story. My daddy, when he was sick, he had a stroke, and I was in the hospital room with my Aunt Carrie, and she was rubbing his legs, and she started singing these old church songs, you know, Precious Lord, and Blessed Assurance, and Amazing Grace. And she was rubbing his legs. I said, Aunt Carrie, why are you rubbing his legs? And she said, didn't you know? I said, didn't I know what? She said, didn't you know your daddy had polio when he was a little boy? Wow. And that's what his mama would do. She would rub his legs and put some sort of ointment on him, and she would sing those songs. The truth is, he eventually opened his eyes after all the surgeries. It took several days while she was standing there singing those songs. And I don't know how that all works. I don't know, did he hear his mama's voice and his sister's voice? I don't know. All I know is there was hope for him in that deep memory of his own mother's voice singing. We've all got some deep memories of something good, and there is hope. And God has been in that hope. And if God hasn't given up on us, then we don't have to give up on each other. And somewhere along the way, there will be and is a vaccine for this disease, just as there was for polio.
Bishop Curry, at this time, a lot of people were, really riven by this election that just happened. We're in a time of forgiveness. How do we reach out to those who may not agree with where we stand at this time of peace?
You know what? We got to reach out. You just got to cross the street, put out your hand, and put it out without an agenda. The only agenda is I want to sit down and have lunch with you because you're my brother, you're my sister. We are siblings. We are all children of God. And if we are all children of God, last time I checked, if you have the same parent, that means you're intrinsically related. And last time I checked, we all come from the same God and creator of us all. And if that's true, then that means we are family. We may be dysfunctional, but we are family.
This one's on.
Bishop Curry, you talk a lot about the power of love. Love is the Way is your latest book. For those watching now on this day, how can somebody, issue the power of love? What is the power of love and how can it be spread?
You know what? It really is. It's not a sentiment. It's a commitment. The power of love is found in my willingness to seek your good as well as my own. And if I do that toward you and you do that toward me, then we actually create a new space where both of us can live together when we agree and when we disagree. That's the miracle of love. It actually creates space for all of us. I give up a little something, you give up a little something, and then in the miracle of this kind of mathematics, we all get something more.
My goodness.
Good time together. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, wisdom, all your help.
Merry Christmas to you guys.
We'll be looking for you in 2021.
I'll be there.
Let us take a bit of a turn here on this Christmas morning. To turn to a certain person who flies around.
Kelly the Elf. And now, if you're no longer dreaming of a white Christmas, the Wyckoff Christmas Tree Farm in New Jersey has just what you need. Purple, silver, pink, you name it. They'll do it. The owner, John Wyckoff, spray paints these beauties with a fireproof latex paint especially made for Christmas trees. Who knew? He says he tested the paint at the beginning of the season. So many people stopped to take pictures. He knew he was on to something special. The trees took root. A new Christmas tradition was born. His green trees cost $8 a foot. He adds on $3 per foot for any painted tree. John tells us he's just gotten requests for orange and lime green to be added to the offerings, George. Let Allie know. You dream of a color. John can do it.
That's true. Teach their own.
Thank you. Thank you. And finally, guys, I really want to share this with you on this Christmas morning. The reunion that has melted our hearts. Check this out. Watch what happens when this big German Shepherd named Sam sees his soldier dad for the first time when dad returns home from service. Take a look.
Oh my God!
Sam the German Shepherd, he knocked his human brother right out of the way to get to dad. That video has gone viral on TikTok, needless to say, racking up millions of views. I'm sure the entire family's so happy to have dad home for Christmas here. I know we're so happy to see it. With that, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
It was great to see. Thank you, Lara. We're going to move on now to our GMA cover story, a story that will really inspire you this holiday season. A group of college students saw people were struggling to put food on the table and that farmers had a surplus of produce they couldn't sell, so they created the Farm Link Project, an initiative connecting farmers to food banks. Take a look. This holiday season, food insecurity has reached record levels across the nation.
Prior to COVID, we were serving about 15,000 families. But since the COVID pandemic, our numbers have increased dramatically. And now we're at the point where we're serving 33,000. So it's absolutely off the charts.
And the Farm Link Project is setting the bar high.
This year, we've set the goal of delivering 20 million pounds of food by the end of 2020.
Last spring, when the pandemic put millions out of work and the lines at local food banks stretched for miles on end, college students had an idea to bridge the food gap.
We just started calling as many farmers as we could. And, probably on the 150th call, one of them had a surplus. So we just rented a truck and delivered it to our local food bank.
And before they knew it, the FarmLink project went from a local effort to a nationwide initiative.
3 weeks in, I had emails in my inbox. A grandma in North Carolina who had a vegetable garden in her backyard, or a man in Texas who had a pickup truck and wanted to help make shipments.
Now powered by 150 students from over 75 colleges, they've partnered with more than 90 farms and counting.
About 60% of Fresh Kisses volume is destined to food service industry. When that was shut down, we were scratching our head. What are we going to do with this product that's ready to harvest? If we had to donate it, our growers couldn't stay in business very long. They're paying us enough to pay for our crews that are packing, our cartons, the cooling, the trucking to the cooler. It really was a savior for us.
Sending that fresh food to nearly 270 food banks in 42 states.
The FarmLink was able to channel tractor-trailer loads of fresh produce to us. The fresh produce is an absolutely challenging element of the emergency food apparatus.
Now is the time that we really need to be helping wherever we can. So this holiday season, we're doing everything we can to deliver as many meals as possible to people in need.
They're all unbelievable young people. Really, really commendable. Thank you very much.
20 million pounds of food. What an amazing goal. Robin?
Time now for Presents at a Pinch. The most popular search term on Etsy this year is personalized gifts. So we're showing you how to make gift baskets that might be last second, but you know what? They're going to look tailor-made. We guarantee. Lifestyle expert Melissa Garcia has all the secrets.
Hey, Melissa, how are you doing today? Let's start out. Good morning. Let's start out with something for movie buffs here.
Yes, so the great thing is that all of these you can get today on Christmas Day and make them, and again, they'll look personalized. So for the movie buff in your life, the supermarket is a great place to shop. Start with a base of just any mixing bowl and then fill it in with all those things that you love when you're watching movies. Popcorn, movie candies, of course I love these old-time Coca-Cola bottles, and then you could always add a gift, of course, of like a Disney Plus gift card in here so they can pick out all the great movies they want to watch.
Melissa, you scream, I scream, we all scream for ice cream! So do we have to head to the supermarket for this?
Yes, so the supermarket again is another great place for the ice cream fanatic. I don't know anyone who doesn't love ice cream. I just found a nice big glass jar, and then we put the base on the bottom with lots of colored sprinkles just to make it look festive. We stack the taller items in the back, so your caramel, your marshmallow. In the front we have some hot fudge, an ice cream scooper, and of course cherries and cones. And this just looks really thoughtful and put together. No one will think that you did it on Christmas Day.
And Melissa, you're not forgetting the college student, because we have the college student care package.
Oh boy.
So where do you pick up all these items?
Yes. Yes, so 7-Eleven, the gas station, another great place to shop on Christmas Day. That is open. So here we just emptied out a Coca-Cola Classic bottle case, and we filled it up with sanitizer, some emergency Advil, pens and pencils, candy, and of course a gas gift card, some coffee gift cards, everything for the college students that they would need. And it's in this really cute carry-all. Looks really thoughtful and put together.
Yep, drink all the Coca-Cola and put the college kids' gifts in the carrier there. And then we know Ginger, you have the next gift. What do you have, Ginger?
I do, Michael. I've got this crafty collection. Check it out. And Melissa, you got to tell us, where do we get all this stuff last minute?
Yes, so drugstores are another great place to shop. CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, all of those places are really great. And for kids, this is really fun. So I love getting a creative base. So this is actually a lunchbox. So this is also usable. And then we filled it with really fun crafts and activities. Crayons, markers, construction paper, coloring books, Play-Doh, cards, and then of course the kids are hungry, so a couple of snacks. Really fun, really cute, thoughtful, and put together, easy to do.
My kids can't wait to break into this. They saw it already. Lara, Tag, you're it.
Thank you, Ginger. So I don't know anybody who would turn down a spa day, and so we have created this whole spa moment. Ta-da! Little cozy socks, masks, a little scrub, I love bath bombs. Tori Johnson, we love you for introducing us to bath bombs. And of course, a candle. Melissa, how do we put this all together? What tips do you have on making a spa basket?
Yeah, so exactly like you were saying, this again, pick up at any drugstore by you, will be open on Christmas Day, and get creative with your base. So here we used a makeup bag, so it's something that you can use again, and then we stuffed it with all the things you were saying, a nice candle, some scrub, cozy socks, anything that you really think will personalize it for the person that you're giving to. And the great thing about all of these is not only you can get it on Christmas Day, but they're all really affordable.
Tornado.
I love that. If you are super last minute, not pointing any fingers, but you also have a great idea. If you can't get the basket done, you say?
Gift cards are always a great gift. I mean, who doesn't love to actually pick out their own gift? So gift cards are the way to go if you really are in a pinch.
A great idea.
Thank you so much. Great ideas. Your backyard looks gorgeous. Michael, I'm going to send it back to you, and I just want to say, whoever told me to wear a costume for this, I owe you that. Back to you.
You look great in the costume. And I wonder if it's the last minute and you can't get anything, just show up. I'm sure bringing your love will be enough. And we want to say thank you to Melissa for all her last minute gift ideas. You can get her last minute gift ideas at goodmorningamerica.com. Coming up, works Duff Goldman joins us with a delicious dessert you can whip up just in time for Christmas.
My name is Staff Sergeant Robert Happy Gilmore from Charlie Company 146 ESB out of Jacksonville, Florida. I'm here to say happy holidays and Merry Christmas. Love you guys.
Hi, we're the Winchesters here at Steak Alabama Race Germany. Just wanted to wish our friends and family in Fort Wayne, Indiana a happy holiday.
Hi, girl. Hi, Granny.
Come jumping up on the house. Up on the housetop, reindeer paws. Out jumps good old Santa Claus. Down to the chimney with lots of toys. All for the little ones' Christmas joy. Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Up on the housetop, click, click, click. Down through the chimney with old Saint Nick. Come jumping up on the house. Come jumping up on the house. First comes the stocking of little June. She's been good at least since noon. She wants a rock and a roll guitar, Telecaster and all. Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Up on the housetop, click, click, click. Down through the chimney with old Saint Nick.
You know, to me, the holidays mean faith, family, and friends.
Sharing smiles and sharing love with everyone around you.
And sharing cookies. Gotta have those cookies.
So forgive our manners. From our GMA family, and that includes you because you are part of our family.
Here is wishing you a wondrous and joyous,
very happy holiday season.
Happy holidays, America.
Holiday! Yeah!
Happy, happy holidays filled with love and, tell them, Michael.
Cookies!
No one does the holidays like Disney. Wake up to all new magical performances from today's hottest artists as Julianne Hough and Titus Burgess host the Disney Parks Magical Christmas Celebration from the Walt Disney World Resort, today on ABC.
Celebrate with us New Year's Rockin' Eve, live at 8/7 Central on ABC.
Good morning, everybody. Merry Christmas. We have a great forecast on the way today. A lot of sunshine sticking around for the day today. And not only that, but temperatures will be getting a lot warmer too. That's going to help melt some of that snow and at least improve some of those roads a little bit more. We'll stay clear for tonight, but then going into Saturday morning, some patchy fog will be possible thanks to some of the snow melting that we saw throughout the day today. And as we go into the weekend itself, we will begin to cool down once more. Temperatures warming back up throughout the day, noticeably cooler though in the eastern half of the area where we did have that snowfall the last couple of days, but look out to the west. We're back in the 40s, even some 50s in western South Dakota. Won't be quite that warm on Saturday, but at least we're going to be starting off with positive temperatures and nothing below zero. The wind won't be causing as many issues throughout the day either. We'll finally get a nice break from that. And heading into the weekend, same story. The wind looking to stay very light, continuing to give us that break. Let's take a look at the 10-day forecast. We are back to 30 degrees today in Sioux Falls. Not bad at all. The 30 continues on Saturday too, but then cloud cover builds in throughout the day Saturday and Sunday. This will lead to cooler temperatures on Sunday and Monday. We are tracking our next winter storm that looks to make its reappearance on Tuesday and Wednesday across the area, and not just in Sioux Falls. This will give us a chance of snow all across the viewing area. In Aberdeen,
check out details at KELOland.com.
No matter who you are, you're
Federal partners. Nashville Mayor John Cooper told CNN by phone on Friday morning that the explosion occurred in an old historic section of the city. We are working to gather all of the information we can right now, and we will bring you an update when we get it.
when you Cadillac.
We speak.
Alrighty, here's
our end of the year awards show, by the way, is online now.
Find that online, as Clarence Page said, on YouTube. It's also McLaughlin.com for more information. To Michael in...
Should think about more, really, is recording one's own legacy. You know, when Overlooked first launched, I heard from a lot of people who said they felt seen for the first time in a while.
You're going to have to deal with?
Well, I mean, the Republicans will try, but as you noted, Warnock and Ossoff have a lot of money with which to communicate. And what they will communicate to Georgians is that this was Trump coming in at the last minute with no rationale, surprising the Republicans in the Senate and the House, and blowing this deal up for literally no reason. The reason, actually, is that Mitch McConnell and others in the Senate aren't backing his insane conspiracy theories about the election. And so now he's just throwing a temper tantrum, and then he flew off to Florida to play golf. While millions of Americans face the worst Christmas of their lives, and it's his fault.
It's interesting. It is interesting that the agreement is that so many Americans are facing the worst Christmas of their lives in so many ways. So there's agreement there. Perhaps how we get to the solving that problem. Clearly, there's disagreement on who should get the blame. Gentlemen, Matt, Brad, appreciate it. May you have a merrier Christmas than you did when you were traveling with your respective presidents on the road or whatever vacation they were, and hope you guys get some time with the family. Good to see you both. Thanks.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right. A lot of us, probably even based on that conversation, feel that 2021 cannot come soon enough. The devastating virus shut down the world, and in many ways, 2020 was like a year like none other. Like every year, it did have its share of celebrity scandals. Ainsley Earhart takes a look back at some of the biggest ones.
There certainly wasn't a shortage of scandalous headlines to go around this year. From royal drama to Tiger King, we take a look back at the year in scandals. Mexit was the royal news that sent shockwaves around the world. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex announcing their plans to step back from their royal duties in January. The couple and their son Archie eventually making the move across the pond, settling in the Duchess's home state of California. Prince Andrew also stepping out of the spotlight due to his admitted friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. The prince saying allegations of inappropriate relations with minors are not true. The Department of Justice, though, saying that they would like to speak with the prince as part of their Epstein investigation. Longtime talk show host and comedian Ellen DeGeneres is known for promoting kindness, but several employees on her show say their workplace is anything but kind. The show opening an investigation into allegations of intimidation, racial insensitivity, and sexual misconduct. 2020 dealing a major blow to actor Johnny Depp's career, after a British court ruled against the actor in his explosive libel lawsuit. A judge finding claims published in The Sun of Depp's abusive behavior towards his ex, Amber Heard, were substantially true. Judgment day for disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. Weinstein sentenced to 23 years behind bars, found guilty of criminal sexual assault and rape in the 3rd degree. Full House actress Lori Loughlin making a trip to the big house this year. Loughlin and her husband beginning their sentences in California for their roles in the college admission scandal. President West, rapper Kanye West, briefly throwing his hat in the race for president after a shocking campaign event in South Carolina that covered topics ranging from his relationship with Kim Kardashian to criticism of Harriet Tubman. Kanye eventually dropped out of the race, though his name did appear on some states' ballots across our country.
Feel his arms around me.
Glee star Lea Michele apologizing over the summer after some of her co-stars came forward alleging abusive behavior by the star, saying she was extremely difficult to work with on set. And late-night talk show host Jimmy Fallon issuing his own apology after a Saturday Night Live sketch resurfaced after 2 decades, showing Fallon in blackface portraying comedian Chris Rock. Fallon saying he made a terrible decision.
You're gonna have to kill me to shut me up.
Netflix Tiger King seemed to have viewers in a claw-like grip this year. The docuseries following the heated rivalry between animal keeper Joe Exotic and animal rights activist Carol Baskin. The show covering everything from Joe Exotic's murder-for-hire plot against Baskin to rumors that Baskin fed her missing husband to her tigers.
What does one have to do to get some kindness in this family?
And more royal drama, this time surrounding Netflix hit show The Crown. While the show has garnered plenty of acclaim for its portrayal of the reign of Queen Elizabeth, some in the British government have called for Netflix to add a warning for viewers that the show is primarily a work of fiction. In the world of sports, the MLB continuing to deal with the fallout from the 2017 sign-stealing controversy, the Boston Red Sox parting ways with the manager, Alex Cora, in January. Cora accused of planning and executing a scheme when he was a coach for the Houston Astros and Boston Red Sox, where he would use technology to decode signals used by opposing teams and then relay that information to players to give them an advantage. The discovery of a noose in the garage of NASCAR's only black driver, Bubba Wallace, stunned drivers and fans over the summer. But after their investigation, the FBI determined that Wallace was not the target of a hate crime. And there were plenty of political faux pas to go around this year. Both California Governor Gavin Newsom and Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi caught violating COVID-19 restrictions. Newsom seen dining out with a large group of people with no social distancing enforced, while the speaker was seen inside a San Francisco salon without wearing a face mask. No doubt there'll be plenty of more scandalous headlines to come in 2021, and we will be there to cover it all for you. In New York, Ainsley Earhart, Fox News.
Concerned that this is going to be the preview to what we can expect when the average American gets the vaccine?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think those concerns are natural, given everything that we've seen so far. Like Eugene said, I mean, so much of this does have to do with the direction at the top. I mean, the rhetoric, I think, cannot be understated when we're talking about things like as significant as a vaccine rollout at a national level. The Biden transition has that sort of burden and opportunity to take on rhetoric-wise, where they can put clearer guidelines in place so that some of these fears that you just mentioned, I think if folks start to hear a clear set of rules and a clear set of guidelines that are sort of echoed from the top, which Americans have not heard thus far, obviously, as we've seen, I think that some of local officials, their concerns at the state level might be mitigated a little bit, as well as just individuals. One of the biggest things I think that we're going to be looking at moving forward in the next couple of weeks and months is how does the Biden transition taking over from the Trump administration, how do they sort of tamper down concerns of hesitancy and of skepticism within the general population of taking this vaccine? Because I think, when it becomes more widely available and when the distribution lines become clearer, I think that the next key issue that they'll have to tackle will be skepticism carried over from a lot of the rhetoric we're seeing at the top now.
Hannah, you bring up a great point. Eugene, very quickly, I want to end with this question. The president still hasn't been vaccinated. Any indication that he would be?
And not so much. I've talked to people behind the scenes that planning doesn't seem to be a part of a huge part of his thinking right now. Right, he seems singularly focused at this point on trying to find ways to overturn an election where Joe Biden won fair and square. And this is a president who has done that. He understands marketing. Obviously, his entire life has been about being out front and running PR campaigns for different things. And the fact that he hasn't gotten this vaccine is pretty surprising, considering exactly what Hannah was saying.
Hannah Trudeau and Eugene Daniels for us this morning. Thank you both for your time. We appreciate it. Now let's move on to the case of an unarmed black man killed by a Columbus, Ohio officer. His chief now recommending that he be fired from his job while his community calls for justice. NBC's Kathy Park reports on the latest for us.
The family of Andre Hill has nothing to celebrate this holiday.
Dramatic action out of Columbus, Ohio, following the police shooting death of 47-year-old Andre Hill. The city's police chief making his recommendation.
Today, I am announcing action to terminate Officer Adam Coy.
Columbus officer Adam Coy, who shot Hill, had been placed on paid leave. The body camera footage of the shooting released this week shows the moments leading up to the deadly encounter as Coy walks up to an open garage and approaches Hill, who's seen holding his cell phone while his other hand is out of view.
I have seen everything I need to see to reach the conclusion that Officer Coy must be terminated immediately.
We've got a medic coming.
In the aftermath of the shooting, Hill lays on the ground for more than 5 minutes without anyone rendering aid. Police say no weapon was found at the scene.
What does justice look like for Andre and his family?
Justice for Andre Hill looks a lot like justice for George Floyd. Justice for Andre Hill looks a lot like justice for Breonna Taylor.
The local Fraternal Order of Police in a statement said every citizen, including officers, deserves due process and that accountability is important. The case now getting extra attention from the state, with the Ohio Attorney General named special prosecutor amidst growing calls for action. Kathy Park, NBC News.
Millions of families are struggling to get enough to eat this Christmas. We'll tell you about one group that's trying to help and trying to keep restaurants with their lights on too.
The Shark Vac Mop. The all-in...
We steady ourselves and we get to work because it's been so painful for me to witness this monstrosity.
But the wall...
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
The green
That's
and
beautiful.
I would say we're all just ready for Christmas.
Oh, Anna, thank you.
Happy.
Merry Christmas, GMA.
Criminal conduct is going on right now insofar as a police call.
Women and what was expected of them. And I think it just is the accurate portrayal of what was happening. And to
because we don't understand the militancy of the Chinese regime. We are afraid to talk out loud about its ultimate goals.
It's felt for miles. A bomb squad is on the scene there, but there are no immediate reports of any injuries. We'll be watching this story. We'll bring you the latest.
Diabetics understand all too well the pain of pricking your fingers. But now,